Hey everybody, this is Leanne from Bird Nest Books, and today is a fabulous day because I finally finished this book that I've been working on probably for the last 4 weeks, and I'm here to share it with you today. This is actually based on a kit that I purchased from I'm a Cool Mom over at the JunK trunk. Fabulous kit, inspired the book. It's a retro recipe type books. There was so much stuff in it. I pulled out the things that I wanted to use this book, and there's enough for me to actually make another one. So anyway, here's my book. It's called Let's Eat, and it's as I said, it's a retro kitchen type book. This is a vintage hanky that I got. I looked all over for that precious thing, and I ended up finding it at an antique shop for only 50 cents. Isn't that incredible? So I wanted it to have a recipe cooking type feel, so I selected this fabric to cover the cover with. I got these little charms here over at Michael's. I thought that was a perfect little thing to add. There you go. As well as this little flower, just a bit of color and just fun and cheerfulness. And there's the back, just kind of simple. And I'll open it up and we'll get going. Okay, this was the first picture, and this is the one that inspired me with the book. It's called Let's Eat, and this was her image that was set in the kit, and I fussy cut it out, and that's what you'll be seeing throughout the book. So let's get going. Did I tell you the book is 9 by 6? If I didn't, now you know. It's about 9 by 6. So my first food memory is one with a food called lefse. It's a Norwegian type food. So what I did, I started out my book right here, giving a nod back to my grandparents that were Norwegian. And so this here is a particular type of, it's not a doily, I don't know what you call it, but linen type thing that is known in the Norwegian type heritage. So I just put a couple cards in here that I can write the story about my grandmother and the things that I remember about her and about the cooking. She came from Norway. This is a bee that I put in there because her last name is Benson. And I put a teacup because she would collect teacups. We have a bunch of teacups. Actually, that were hers. So then I can write right here. Throughout this entire book, I'm going to be writing and journaling about my memories about my family that are recipe or food related. So here is just a fun little thing, kind of reminded me of wallpaper. So I put that there. And this is what lefse looks like. It's kind of a tortilla, but it's made out of potatoes primarily. And I put a picture of my grandmother in there. Her name was Olga, so I put it no. I'm very detailed in all this stuff. So I won't share everything because it gets too tedious, but everything has purpose that you see in the book. Then it goes on to my grandfather. Her son, he was a dairy farmer, so I got all these cap tops, you know, that you would have on the top of milk jars, and I made my edge out of that. See, doesn't that look pretty? It looked kind of just like a sweet little edge, but in reality it was these cap tops. So I put these farm animals here, a little wooden tag, and on the back I have a picture of my grandfather that I could find that was food related. He was actually feeding a dog, giving it a little spoon of something. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure the dog liked it. And these letters here, ND, for North Dakota. He was a farmer in North Dakota. So here's a tag that I made to go along with it. This is actually the farm. Is that the right way? I don't know if I have it the right way. Anyway, that's the farm. Just plain on the back, but I wanted to have that in there. I made these little bales out of raffia. Kind of fun. Then on the next page, I have a picture that we're getting into kind of my grandmother's area. She used to always say "ufta," so I put that there. That's a common Norwegian thing too. I have little tags in here. I'm not going to pull out every one. I put in chocolate-covered cherries. That was one of the foods my grandfather just loved. And then there's a story about my mom and my grandpa because he didn't want her in the kitchen helping my grandmother. He would play cards with my mom so she wouldn't have to work. So I made this little waterfall out of cards, and that's my grandma and grandpa right there. I thought that was fun. So see this fun little edge here? Can you see that little edge? I made this out of cupcake liners. Isn't that fun? So that's cupcake liners right here, and I made a little spot to tuck things in. Little vintage phone. An envelope. They used to send us cookies. This is the recipe of my grandmother's of the sour cream cookies that she used to make us. So, and I also have it in one of those little plastic liners. I don't know if any of you people remember, but recipes, a lot of times people would put them in those little liners to protect them. A little doily said, "You look beautiful when you smile," and my grandmother did indeed. So this one here, I picked up a sweater at a thrift shop because my grandmother would always wear sweaters like this. It reminded me of her. And then she would wear clothes that were green and you know that polyester stuff. So I got some fabric once again at the thrift shop and I just put that on there because it reminds me of her, and I just wanted to connect everything up like that. These are just basic little tags in here that I can write on. And then here's a picture of her with grandkids, and she's bottle feeding one of the babies. So, gonna write about her right here. I think that goes there. I don't know where that goes. I'm just gonna put it in. So then we get onto this page. This is my home where I think about where I grew up, and it had all these, you know, bright colors. I'm sure some of you guys can relate with. And so I found paperwork that reminded me of the wallpaper that we had. We had a yellow phone like this. So I put that on there too. And we used to put notes behind the phone, so I put that in there. So simple thing, put some little tags in there. This is a table that I kind of cut out and made. My dad would refinish furniture. My mom would make Rice Krispie treats. And this one here, oh, this is great. This is a yellow fridge. We had a yellow fridge, you know, so I kind of did that. Just whatever I could pull out that reminded me of my growing up years and times. So these numbers here, it says 2618 on them. Those are the numbers of the house we lived in. Still own it. So, oh, here's another fun little edge. Okay, so see this little edge right there? What it actually is, it's one of the dies I have that's of bread. I thought, isn't that perfect? So I made a little pocket out of it and also a little edge. So on one side you see the fun edge, on the other side you see the actual bread. So in the bread, you know, once again, these are the retro printouts that came in the kit. Fabulous, inspirational. And I know she has another kit coming up. That recipe, you know, the classic recipe of the Rice Krispie treats. Everyone made those. And then just a basic tag. Stuff I can write on with those memories of mine. Journal, journal, journal. This was a fun one that I made too. This is a mason jar die that I have. And I just used like a thin tracing type paper. And so it's transparent, but I left it open so I can just tuck things right behind there. See, isn't that cool? I really like how that turned out. So, my little mason jar bottles. On the next page, my mom had a wallet that was something like that I found. And I know you guys probably remember these S&H stamps. This is a vintage, can you see that? Grocery store ad that I found. This is from a cutie. You know, those little cutie oranges. And this is actually a recipe that's in my mom's handwriting. It doesn't come up very well. But it's my mom's handwriting. I wanted something in there of my mom's handwriting. And I put 78, kind of like maybe the year that some of it was taking place. I made these little grocery bag looking things here. And I printed out some of the cereals and things that we would have as kids. I know it's just awful to eat this stuff, but that's what I ate. And I loved it. My mom would make Jell-O, beef stew, you know, eat a lot of canned things, Trix. They would get us Pop Shop Pop. But then I also put a bag in here. So this is what the die, what you can do with it. Sorry about that. So with this little die here, oh, I didn't do on that one after all that problem. The die is actually made so that when you open it up, you can have it as a little book. It's really, really cool. Anyway, sorry I couldn't share that part with you. So on to the next page. This page here then represents my sister and my cooking memories of her. She makes the best salad. So this is like a salad bowl with a little, you know, the serving utensils. I also remember her, I connect her up with spaghetti. So I took just a label off of my spaghetti jar. And this is a recipe from long ago for Kahlua. When we were younger, she had that recipe. So I have that recipe still, and so I put it in there. So this page represents that sister. This page here represents another sister, and she's a school administrator down in Bakersfield, and so she's busy and does all this stuff. So I thought this image from the Junk Trump works perfect for her. So I put, like, here's a school vintage library card, and they go out to eat a lot. I put a guest check, all the activities and things that she does. And anyway, so that's her. And here's a little folding page. And I made this so you can flip it like that, but it also flips like that. And those were also from the kit. And this right here, this was from chocolate, Ghirardelli chocolate that I ate. Okay, this here represents my youngest sister, Willa. She is also a teacher. She is vivacious, but she is also very busy. So her name is Willa, so I put a W right there. I made this little flap like that, and I put this here with a little tag on it from Bread with a little note card in there. I'm not going to bother to open up this one because the last one was kind of disappointing because I didn't make it how I thought. Okay. These are all just decorative. All my signatures are hand sewn in, but I did it so that I could do that. I liked it. So over here, this is a vintage hot pad and just little receipts and just fun little stuff that I can write my memories of her. This is from the dollar store. It's just a tissue pack, this little checkered stuff. I put decoupage on that one, and I made this one. Opening over here, this one starts telling the story of me. We'll journal about that. That's another vintage from her kit that I fussy cut. Chocolate. Just a few little tucks in here. Good morning. This page here particular is on coffee because I'm a coffee fan, although I don't drink it like I used to. Not all that caffeine, but still I love my coffee. So there's a vintage coffee can. This came in the kit. It was a vintage cookbook page actually that's on coffee, which is just so awesome. Works perfect for me. And then this next page, this also came with the kit. I made it into a pocket. This is a recipe I got when I got married from one of my sister-in-laws. She gave that to me. So I tucked some recipes in there. Just kind of put things together that would just be kind of fun. Representing where I can write stories. Right now we're doing this thing called Hello Fresh. So I put that in there. Some of you might know that. I love it. So recipes, turning the page again. You can go ahead and write here. That came in the kit. Here's this one. I drink tea every day as well as coffee, but I drink tea too because it's good for you. And this one here, I started this page and I thought, oh my gosh, this is just like going to be so ugly. But actually, in the end, I loved how it turned out. So I have 3 tea bags. And then I have some dies of like the honeycomb stuff. And then I made these little tags using vintage fruit, and then I put the background in it with my just various texts and stuff. Anyway, they turned out nice. See, each of them have little fruit things in there that I can use and write on. So, on to the next page. Darling little girl. She kind of reminds me of girls from my heritage. Fruitful, I can put something under here if I want. If not, I can just write straight here. Here's another one of my little favorite things. These are little jars that I made. Isn't that just great? I love it. I love it. So I have 3 of them tucked inside here that I can use and write on. And then that flips over. Some of my fun coffee dyed paper. I like that one. Isn't that pretty? So this is a bag that my HelloFresh comes in. So I thought that was great. Get cooking. And I made a little flap out of it. So there you go. Nothing fancy, but yet it's fun. Another one of the cupcake liners. Then you turn the page and I have a pocket right here, and kind of going along with my theme of the bread, I just cut out these 2 pieces of bread that I can do fun little notes and memories on. Pocket here, this starts talking about my dad, where I can journal things about my memories with him. He was actually quite a cook. He did a lot of the cooking in our family. He was a meat market manager. And this is actually one of his certificates from one of the schools and trainings that he did. Oops, a little stuff that was supposed to go back here fell out. Anyway, from the kit also lots of fun little tucks that I can write on. And this represents one of the dishes that he would always make us. This is his handwriting. Isn't that great? Just putting those pieces in there that are actually real pieces of my family and my memories. So this represents him once again. Not the prettiest thing, but it is kind of pretty actually. The meat. He was a butcher, and he would do things. He would make us jerky, and I have great memories of that, him bringing it home, and we would divide it up. Ah, there's a little cow. That's a drawing that someone did of my dad. So he actually owned a, what are those called? Slaughterhouse. That sounds awful, doesn't it? We won't talk about that. Okay. So here's another little pocket that I made, and that I put some of his actual recipes in it, in his writing. Once again, in the little plastic folders. Another little cartoon that same artist did, and just a little place I can write. I love this one because he was a coffee drinker. Maybe that's where I got it. So it kind of reminds me of a coffee spill from his mug. So this represents him as a kid. You know, I've heard some of his stories. His mom was an incredible cook, but it was during a really tight period of time. You know, they weren't very wealthy, and so things were lean. And so I purposely kept this page having a leaner look to it. Here's a vintage one that has a story that goes along with it. There's that awesome coffee stain again. This little part here I got from a Reader's Digest page that had coloring on it. It ripped up beautifully. Got that wonderful little vintage napkin that I cut apart that gave it that nice little stitching look. Had such character. Oh, I have to show you this one too because I forgot about this. See this right here, this little yellow pretty ribbon? My mom used to always wear those scarves. This is a type of material that the scarves were. I got that at a second-hand shop, and I made a little thing because it reminded me of her. Sorry about that. I digress, but it was an important, fun little detail. Okay, here we are moving on to the next page. So on this page right here, I made a couple fun little things. Once again, I have recipes of my dad's. This is just a little card fold-out thing. And I put a cow in there. Kind of part of our history. Dairy farmers, butchers, it all happened. And I have some memories of going over actually to the hardware store with him. And when I would go there, he would let me buy something, some piece of candy. And I would buy like those red rope type things. And so I put this bag here. This is actually from a not a grocery store, hardware store trip my husband went on. So I took that. I put that there, just seemed appropriate and good. And then I put a dollar bill in there from actually 1963. I actually bought this off of eBay. I spent more than $1 to get it, but it has the year I was born, 1963. So put that in there. I'll put it back in there later. Okay, so let's turn on to the next page. This one now represents my dad's mom. She was an incredible cook, and she actually worked at a little town diner type place, cooking home style food. Anyway, so I found some vintage, little vintage, what are those called? It escapes me. Menus that I can write little notes on. She was German, so I have a little German card in there, which I thought was fun. So she was German speaking. This page here, just, you know, some fun little tags that I put in there that represents the diner, but this is the one that's important. She had a little wallet just like that. And I remember her getting her change out of it. And actually, I found this on eBay. This is an actual matchbox. This is a copy that I made of it. But these are the matches from the cafe that she worked at, which no longer exists. So I found that as just quite a treasure. So I tucked that in there. This is once again a cupcake liner. I just loved them. They were great. So now pay attention to this little edge here. Isn't that fun? Now watch what it is. Donuts! I made donuts. I have great memories of my grandmother and donuts. And so I made these to put in there to remind me. This has a bunch of little recipes. The gingham reminds me of her. This is a barbecue sauce recipe that was actually her daughter's. Her daughter actually turned out to be a fantastic cook. I suspect all of my relatives on that side were actually really good cooks because of her. Little strawberries on the end of my tags. Here's a fun little envelope that I made. I love how it turned out. This little strawberry there. Anyway, just kind of simple, but yet sweet. with the little milk thing. So this is a picture. It's not my grandmother, but it's what I think it would look like if my two grandmothers were in the kitchen together, because it really kind of looks like them. So I thought it went well. So tuck that in there. And this is just a tag. Beautiful. So, you know, I keep on forgetting to point out the ones, like this one came from the kit too. This came from the kit. All kinds of stuff from the kit. It was just so inspirational. It just inspired me to make this book, and I'll be able to save just a bunch of memories, journal down these things. Now this is of my grandfather, the one that was married to this one, and he came from Russia, and as a little kid, and this just reminded me, this is once again, goes back to my chocolate. This is a chocolate wrapper, but it reminded me of him coming to the United States just with hopes. I'm sure he had financial hopes and dreams, so that's what this reminds me of. And then I put beets in there, you know, for borscht, typical Russian type food. This is a railway ticket. He worked on the railway. Kind of stuck right there. This is actually German writing. Although he came from Russia, he was German. So that's one of the pages that also came in the kit that was just perfect. Here's some little German cards once again. So both my grandparents spoke German, but this one is actually Russian. So I'm sure that he heard a lot of Russian when he was a kid. So this is the one that came out of my mind when I was thinking about him. As I said in an earlier video, oh, there you go. He ended up being a bootlegger, and I have memories of stories where it talks about mason jars and the like. And so I started building this, and anyway, this is what came out. Lovely man. This is our wedding picture. And the last page is just a page that I can write my closing thoughts on, a couple different tags. They're just blank on the back. Another piece from the retro kit. And then this was my cover, and I had extra fabric, so I just pulled it in around and made a pocket out of it. Isn't that fabulous? Well, this is my book. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved making it. I'm just going to treasure it, I'm sure. Place to put all my fun memories in, journal about them. So I hope you enjoyed my video. Have a fabulous day. Thank you.